Let me ask you a question. What if I told you that one of the most important decisions you make for your health and longevity doesn't happen at the gym or even in the kitchen during the day, but right before you go to bed? We often think of sleep as a time of complete rest, a time when the body shuts down, resets, and prepares for the next day. But under the surface, something much more complex is happening. The body doesn't go to sleep in the way we turn off a light switch. Instead, it shifts into a different mode, one that is incredibly active in certain ways, especially when it comes to metabolism and tissue maintenance. And here's where many people are caught off guard. During the hours we sleep, the body can actually begin to break down muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Not because it's trying to hurt us, but because it's trying to survive the fasted state we enter during sleep. From the moment we finish our last meal, the body begins a slow transition toward catabolism, a state where, in the absence of dietary fuel, it starts to draw energy and resources from within. Initially, this includes glycogen stores and fat, but if the need arises, and if amino acids in the bloodstream begin to fall too low, the body will turn to its own muscle tissue to extract what it needs. That process is called muscle protein breakdown, and it's entirely natural. It's part of the body's balancing act between building up and tearing down. But the problem is this: if we go to bed without giving our bodies the tools it needs to preserve muscle, that breakdown process can begin to outpace the building process. Over time, especially in people over the age of 30, when natural muscle decline begins to accelerate, that means a net loss in lean muscle mass. Now, this isn't something that happens overnight in a dramatic fashion, but it does happen in small incremental steps, steps that most people don't even notice until it's too late. You might see it as reduced strength, slower recovery from workouts, or more fatigue during daily activities. You might chalk it up to just getting older. But in many cases, it's not age. It's unaddressed muscle loss occurring during sleep, night after night. The body is remarkably intelligent. It knows how to preserve itself, but it can only work with the resources we give it. And during sleep, when there's no incoming fuel from food, the body prioritizes survival. That means ensuring critical organs, brain function, immune repair all get what they need. Muscle, while important, can be sacrificed if necessary. That's why giving your body a slow, digesting protein source before bed becomes more than just a nutrition tip. It becomes a way to shift your nighttime metabolism in a direction that favors preservation instead of degradation. Think about the hormonal environment at night. Growth hormone peaks during the early stages of deep sleep. This hormone is anabolic. It promotes tissue repair and muscle growth. But without the presence of amino acids in the bloodstream, even this natural surge in growth hormone doesn't reach its full potential. Protein synthesis, the process of building and maintaining muscle, requires raw material. Without it, even the best hormonal conditions can't do much. So the idea here is not to snack late at night in the way many people imagine it. We're not talking about empty calories or comfort food before bed. This is about using a deliberate, strategic approach, giving the body exactly what it needs to counteract muscle breakdown during the fasting state of sleep, and doing so in a way that complements rather than disrupts the natural biological rhythms of rest and recovery. Over time, that small decision, what you consume or don't consume before bed, can shape your body's resilience, strength, capacity to handle stress, especially for those who are training regularly, dealing with chronic illness, aging, or just looking to maintain vitality. The stakes are even higher. Muscle is not just for aesthetics. It's metabolically active. It's protective. It's essential. And it's being shaped every night, whether we realize it or not. So the next time you prepare for bed, not just about brushing your teeth or setting your alarm. Think about the internal processes that will unfold as you sleep, and whether your body has what it needs to protect and sustain one of its most vital assets, your muscle tissue. Because while sleep is a time of rest for the mind, it's also a time of critical activity for the body. And what you do or don't do before you close your eyes can make all the difference. Muscle is often misunderstood. It's commonly viewed through the lens of athleticism or aesthetics, something reserved for bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts, or young people chasing a certain image. But that's a narrow view. The reality is that muscle plays a far more vital role in our health than most people recognize. It's not just about strength or size. Muscle is a biological currency, an active, dynamic tissue that influences nearly every system in the body. And losing it quietly, especially over time, sets the stage for a wide range of chronic issues that affect both quality and length of life. Let's start with metabolism. Muscle is metabolically demanding. That means it burns more calories at rest than fat tissue does. Even when you're sitting or sleeping, your muscles are working to keep your metabolic engine running. This becomes crucial in the context of weight management and blood sugar control. The more muscle you have, the more efficiently your body handles glucose. Muscle tissue acts like a sponge for glucose. It pulls sugar out of the bloodstream and stores it. When muscle mass decreases, insulin resistance tends to increase. That's part of why we see a strong link between declining muscle and rising rates of type 2 diabetes, especially in aging populations. But there's more to this story. Muscle is also a reservoir. Times of illness, injury, or stress, your body turns to muscle to supply amino acids for immune function, tissue repair, and energy. It's your emergency fund. If you get an infection or go through surgery, your body pulls from muscle to heal and recover. So having more muscle is not just an advantage, it's a buffer, a form of protection. Those who enter a medical crisis with more lean mass tend to recover faster and survive longer. It's not about lifting heavier weights or running marathons. It's about giving your body the structural and metabolic support it needs when the unexpected happens. Then there's the issue of aging, beginning in our 30s and accelerating in our 60s and beyond. We naturally begin to lose muscle mass, a process called sarcopenia. But sarcopenia isn't just about losing muscle. It's about losing independence. Muscle powers movement. It stabilizes joints. It allows us to get up from a chair, walk without falling, climb stairs, carry groceries, and perform all the activities of daily life that we often take for granted. When muscle declines, so does mobility. And when mobility declines, everything else follows: social isolation, mental health deterioration, and increased risk of institutionalization. The research is clear. Muscle mass is one of the strongest predictors of functional aging. What's more, muscle communicates. It's an endocrine organ. When you engage muscle through resistance training or even walking, releases compounds called myokines. These molecules influence inflammation, immune function, and even cognitive health. They reduce chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind of silent inflammation that underpins heart disease, dementia, and cancer. In this way, muscle doesn't just move your body, it sends signals that shape your internal environment. That's a powerful role. It means that maintaining muscle is about far more than strength. It's about signaling health at the cellular level. Yet, despite its significance, muscle often goes ignored in clinical practice and health conversations. We measure weight. We talk about BMI. We obsess over fat percentage. But rarely do we ask, how much muscle does this person have? What's their strength like? Are they maintaining it year over year? These questions are just as critical, maybe even more so, than tracking blood pressure or cholesterol. And here's the good news. Like some aspects of aging or disease, muscle loss is largely preventable. It's modifiable. With the right nutrition, resistance training, recovery, especially during sleep, you can preserve or even build muscle well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. The body retains this capacity far longer than we once thought. But it requires intention. It requires understanding what muscle does and why it matters. So when we talk about stopping muscle loss while you sleep, we're not talking about vanity. We're talking about protecting one of the most valuable assets you have, not just for movement or appearance, but for immunity, metabolism, resilience, and survival. Muscle is your reserve. It's your signal of health. And losing it quietly over time doesn't just affect how strong you feel. It shapes your future, your independence, your ability to recover from life's inevitable challenges. That's why preserving it isn't optional. It's essential. When we talk about nutrition and muscle maintenance, the focus is often on total daily protein intake. And while that's important, it doesn't tell the whole story, especially when we think about what happens during the 6 to 8 hours we sleep at night. The body is in a fasted state during sleep. No food is coming in, yet critical repair and regeneration processes are still going on. Muscle tissue is either being maintained or broken down, depending on the availability of amino acids. So the timing and type of protein we consume can significantly influence whether the body stays in an anabolic, muscle-building, or catabolic, sever muscle-breaking state overnight. Here's where casein protein comes into focus. Casein, found naturally in dairy products like milk, Greek yogurt, and cottage cheese is distinct from other proteins in how it's digested and absorbed. While whey protein is rapidly absorbed, leading to a quick spike in blood amino acids, casein works differently. It forms a gel-like substance in the stomach, slowing gastric emptying and producing a sustained, gradual release of amino acids into the bloodstream. This slow release mechanism can last for hours, sometimes up to 7 or 8, making it uniquely suited for the overnight fasted period. That slow trickle of amino acids makes a difference. It means that while you're asleep, your muscles continue to receive the building blocks they need for repair and maintenance. Without this, the body may begin to break down its own muscle to free up amino acids for essential processes like organ function, immune activity, and hormone synthesis. But with a steady supply from casein, the need to pull from muscle tissue is reduced or even eliminated. Over time, this nightly muscle preservation adds up. It becomes part of a broader strategy to prevent sarcopenia, maintain metabolic health, and support recovery from training or illness. Studies on this are compelling. In controlled trials, participants who consumed casein protein before bed showed increased overnight muscle protein synthesis rates compared to those who consumed nothing. What's important here is that the same amount of protein taken at different times did not yield the same result. Timing matters. And in the context of sleep, it matters a great deal. A simple serving of casein before bed, whether through a food source or a supplement, can change the muscle balance equation from breakdown to buildup. This becomes especially important for older adults who naturally experience what's known as anabolic resistance. That means their bodies respond less efficiently to the muscle building signals from protein. So while a young adult might get a strong muscle response from 20 grams of protein at dinner, someone in their 60s or 70s might need more frequent or better timed protein to get the same effect. Casein before bed helps to address this by filling in the long nighttime gap when muscle protein synthesis tends to be lowest. It's also important to understand that this isn't about overloading the body with protein. The goal isn't to consume more for the sake of it. It's to distribute protein more intelligently across the day, particularly in relation to periods of fasting like sleep. Many people front load their protein intake at lunch and dinner, leaving a long stretch overnight with nothing to support muscle. Even a modest portion of casein-rich food, like a small bowl of cottage cheese or a serving of Greek yogurt, can provide enough slow-release amino acids to protect muscle tissue through the night. For those concerned about digestion or sleep disruption, the research is reassuring. Casein is well tolerated by most people and does not interfere with sleep quality. In fact, for some, the additional amino acids can help support neurotransmitter production, aiding in deeper, more restorative sleep. That's because amino acids like tryptophan serve as precursors for serotonin and melatonin, key regulators of the sleep-wake cycle. So this isn't just about nutrition, it's about understanding physiology and working with the body's natural rhythms. By supplying a slow digesting protein before bed, we're not interfering with sleep. We're enhancing the repair mechanisms that are already hard at work during those hours. We're aligning our nutritional choices with the biology of recovery. The strategy is simple, but the impact is profound. Instead of letting the body slip into muscle breakdown while we rest, we can support it with a steady stream of what it needs most, amino acids, delivered slowly, consistently, and right when it counts the most. Over time, that choice adds up to stronger muscles, better recovery, and a healthier, more resilient body. One of the most important questions to ask when considering a health intervention is this: what does the evidence show? We can have theories, ideas, and even strong opinions, but without data, we're operating in the dark. When it comes to the impact of consuming protein, particularly casein, before bed, we're not relying on anecdote or assumption. There is solid clinical research that demonstrates how this strategy affects muscle preservation, protein synthesis, and overall recovery. The science tells a clear story. It's one that deserves close attention, especially for those interested in maintaining muscle as they age or recover from physical exertion. Let's begin with one of the foundational studies that explored this concept in detail. Researchers looked at a group of healthy adults who engaged in resistance training and were split into groups. One group consumed a casein protein supplement before bed while the other did not. Importantly, both groups consumed adequate total daily protein. This wasn't about protein quantity. It was about timing and type. The results were striking. The group that consumed casein before sleep experienced greater overnight muscle protein synthesis than the group that didn't. Their muscles were not just maintaining themselves, they were actively rebuilding during sleep. What this study showed is that when amino acids are available during the night, the body uses them. The natural nighttime surge in growth hormone, combined with the presence of these building blocks, leads to a favorable environment for muscle preservation. Without those amino acids, however, that opportunity is missed and the body shifts into a more catabolic state. But this isn't just theory or confined to young, healthy athletes. Other research has extended these findings to older adults, those at greater risk for sarcopenia and muscle wasting. In one randomized controlled trial, elderly participants consumed 40 grams of casein before bed after completing a resistance training session. The results showed significant increases in muscle protein synthesis during sleep. Even more importantly, over time, the group retained more lean body mass and demonstrated improvements in strength and function compared to controls. That's key, because in this age group, even modest improvements in muscle retention can make the difference between independence and dependency, between mobility and immobility. Muscle isn't just about capacity, it's about resilience. The ability to walk without support, to recover from illness or hospitalization, to avoid falls. These are outcomes influenced by lean muscle mass, and casein before bed becomes a simple, evidence-based intervention to protect that mass. Another dimension of this research involves the use of casein in athletes. In studies on trained individuals, those who consumed casein before bed after evening workouts not only improved muscle protein synthesis, but also recovered faster. Their muscles were less sore the next day, strength returned more quickly, performance improved over time. The conclusion is consistent: when we feed the body what it needs at the time it needs it, the body responds with efficiency and purpose. And yet, one of the most compelling aspects of this strategy is its simplicity. There are no elaborate protocols, no expensive treatments, just a deliberate intake of a slow, digesting protein source before bed. Whether it's a glass of milk, a bowl of Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a casein protein shake, the impact is measurable. The body doesn't require massive inputs to perform at a high level. It requires well-timed strategic support. Some might worry that late night protein could interfere with sleep quality or digestion. But the studies also looked at these outcomes, and they found no negative impact on sleep. In some cases, sleep improved. The body absorbed the protein gradually without blood sugar spikes or discomfort. For many individuals, the additional amino acids even contributed to deeper, more restorative sleep by supporting neurotransmitter balance. What this body of research shows us is that casein before bed isn't just a nutritional detail, it's a powerful tool, a well-timed input that supports muscle growth, recovery, long-term functional health. It's not just about looking better or performing better. It's about aging with strength, recovering from stress, giving the body what it needs to build instead of break down. In a world where muscle loss is often silent and slow, small interventions make a big difference. The data backs it. Physiology supports it, and the outcomes, better sleep, stronger muscles, improved resilience, speak for themselves. There's a common concern that often comes up when people are advised to eat before bed, especially protein. The idea that any form of nighttime eating will lead to weight gain, disrupt digestion, or interfere with sleep is widespread. And while that may be true for high sugar snacks or heavy meals, it's important to distinguish between what harms the body at night and what actually helps it. The timing, type, and quantity of food make all the difference. When we focus specifically on a modest serving of a slow, digesting high-quality protein like casein, the picture changes entirely. Instead of harming the body, it can in fact support recovery, stabilize blood sugar, and enhance sleep quality. Let's consider digestion first. Casein is naturally slow to digest, which might raise the concern that it sits heavily in the stomach. But this slow digestion is exactly what makes it beneficial during sleep. It forms a gel in the stomach, releasing amino acids gradually into the bloodstream over several hours. This extended release doesn't overwhelm the digestive system. In fact, it gives the gut a break from rapid metabolic shifts, providing a stable, gentle source of nutrients through the night. Unlike high-fat meals or large portions that demand intense digestive activity, moderate serving of casein, say 20 to 40 grams, doesn't stress the system. It works with the body's rhythm, not against it. Another concern is that eating before bed might spike insulin or blood sugar levels, leading to sleep disruption. But again, the data shows a different story. Protein, especially casein, has a minimal impact on blood glucose. It does not produce a significant insulin surge the way refined carbohydrates or sugar do. In fact, some studies suggest that protein before bed may improve overnight glucose control, particularly in people with metabolic conditions. It provides fuel in a way that doesn't destabilize the system. It maintains rather than disrupts balance. Now let's talk about sleep quality itself. Tryptophan, one of the amino acids found in protein-rich foods, is a precursor to serotonin and melatonin, two neurotransmitters that regulate sleep-wake cycles. When consumed in the right amount and timing, tryptophan can actually support the brain's natural production of these calming chemicals, contributing to deeper, more restorative sleep. This is especially important for those who experience mid-night awakenings or light, fragmented sleep. Rather than being overstimulated by hunger or low blood sugar, the brain has the materials it needs to stay calm and regulated. Clinical trials examining nighttime protein consumption have consistently shown that it doesn't impair sleep. Participants didn't experience delayed sleep onset, reduced sleep duration, or altered REM cycles. On the contrary, many reported waking up feeling more recovered and less fatigued. That's not surprising, considering that sleep is a time of repair, and giving the body the nutrients it needs during this window improves the quality of that repair. From a practical standpoint, bedtime protein doesn't need to be complicated. For most people, something as simple as a small bowl of Greek yogurt, a few spoonfuls of cottage cheese, or a glass of milk provides enough casein to support overnight muscle maintenance. For those who are lactose intolerant or prefer alternatives, casein-based protein powders mixed with water or plant-based milk can offer the same benefits without triggering digestive issues. What matters most is consistency and moderation. We're not talking about a full meal or eating for pleasure late at night. We're talking about a strategic dose of nutrition, something intentional, functional, supportive of a deeper biological process. This is a form of nutrient timing that aligns with the body's natural rhythm and needs. It's also worth pointing out that this strategy is particularly beneficial for older adults and active individuals. As we age, or as our physical activity increases, so does the demand for muscle repair and protein availability. Going to bed after a long day, whether it involved exercise, stress, or simple movement, without offering the body what it needs to recover, is like asking it to repair a building without bricks or mortar. Over time, that repair slows and wear begins to outpace renewal. So the key takeaway is this: eating a modest amount of casein-rich protein before bed doesn't disrupt the body. It supports it. It aligns with the physiology of sleep, complements hormone cycles, supplies the materials needed for optimal overnight recovery. Instead of thinking of bedtime protein as a risky or unnecessary addition, it's time to view it as a powerful and intelligent form of nourishment, one that improves not just how we sleep, but how we wake up the next morning stronger, more resilient, better equipped for the demands of the day ahead. Recovery is often misunderstood as a passive process. There's a tendency to think that once the workout is done, the muscles will simply rebuild on their own. That sleep is just downtime. That growth and repair happen automatically without effort or input. But that's not how biology works. Recovery is not passive. It's a biologically active process that depends on specific conditions being met. Nutrients, hormones, rest cycles, and cellular signaling all have to align. And most importantly, recovery must be intentional. The body is capable of incredible repair, but only if we give it what it needs at the right time. And one of the most critical times is during sleep. Sleep isn't just about rest. It's a phase where your body conducts deep internal maintenance. Growth hormone peaks during the first few hours of deep sleep. Muscle protein synthesis can be activated. Immune cells are recalibrated. Tissues begin to repair microscopic damage. But all of this depends on one thing: having the necessary building blocks available. That's where nighttime nutrition plays a silent but vital role. Without the presence of amino acids in the bloodstream, specifically from protein, your body doesn't have the materials it needs to perform this nightly repair work effectively. That's why we talk about nutrient timing not as a trend, but as a science-based approach to supporting physiology. Many people work hard during the day. They exercise, they manage stress, they watch their diet, they supplement. But then they go to bed having eaten their last protein hours earlier, often in the late afternoon or early evening. That leaves the body in a fasted state for 8 or more hours, without ongoing access to amino acids The balance tips toward catabolism, the breakdown of muscle tissue to provide essential amino acids for other functions. This process might not feel dramatic in a single night, but over weeks, months, years it accumulates. Small ongoing muscle loss becomes noticeable. Recovery feels slower, strength declines, fatigue increases. This isn't just about performance, it's about long-term functional health. By contrast, those who plan their recovery recognize that nutrition is part of the sleep cycle. When you provide a slow, digesting protein like casein before bed, you change the environment inside the body. Instead of low amino acid availability, you have a steady, extended release of nutrients throughout the night. This allows the body to stay in a more anabolic state for longer, repairing, rebuilding, reinforcing the muscle and connective tissue that was broken down during the day. The result is not just preserved muscle mass, but improved recovery, better physical function, greater resilience to stress. This is particularly important for older adults and individuals with high physical demands, whether that's athletes, workers with physically taxing jobs, or those recovering from illness. In these populations, the margin for error is smaller. They don't have the same muscle protein synthesis response as younger individuals, so timing becomes even more crucial. A carefully placed dose of casein protein before bed becomes a tool for leveling the playing field, giving the body what it needs when it needs it most. It's also a matter of respect for the body's rhythm. Sleep is not just a passive shut-off switch. It's a regulated process with specific phases, each one linked to different forms of recovery: muscular, neurological, psychological. To get the most out of sleep, we have to participate in it. That means preparing the body not just for rest, but for repair. Just as we prepare for the day with breakfast, we prepare for recovery with strategic evening nutrition. And this isn't about overeating or disrupting digestion or undoing daytime discipline. It's about using the right nutrient in the right form at the right time. A modest amount of casein-rich food before bed doesn't overload the system. It supports it, it bridges the gap between meals, and allows for a more continuous support of muscle health. It's a way to extend the benefits of exercise and training beyond the waking hours. Recovery is not something that just happens. It's something we help the body do. And that requires a shift in mindset. Instead of seeing sleep as the end of our health routine, we need to see it as a continuation, crucial chapter in the 24-hour cycle of building and preserving strength. When we approach it this way, we start to see real changes. Better mornings, less soreness, more energy, slower aging, and a body that's not just surviving, but rebuilding every single night.